Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner. Joining me today is the Secretary of Commerce for the state of Maryland, Mike Gill. Welcome, Mike.
Welcome. Thank you, Jan. Thank you. This is great.
We're happy to have you here in Frederick again. I know you've been here on a number of occasions, and we're happy to have your support. So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what your role is in the governor's cabinet?
Well, one of my most important jobs is to show up in Frederick as much as possible to help you and help everybody in Frederick. So I'm going to keep showing up if that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, Jan, I've been in this position now for going on 10 months. It is my first job in state government, in any government, including student government, and I love it. I love it because it's all about bringing together our 200 people that make up the Department of Commerce. It's focusing on how we can help companies in Maryland grow, companies that are here stay, and then bring in new businesses. So being in Frederick, where there's so many exciting things, it's just been a great day and great to be with you.
Well, thank you. There's a lot of good things happening in Frederick County for sure. We certainly feel the buzz of the economy recovering and good things happening here. So I know that you just recently changed the name from the Maryland Department of Economic Development to Department of Commerce, or maybe it's not Department of Commerce, it's Commerce.
Yeah.
So you're the Secretary of Commerce. So why are we saying we're Commerce?
You know, Jan, first I love the name Department of Commerce, and it's more common. It's found to be the more common name if you and I were to travel around the United States.
Okay.
Most of the economic development groups now, if most or half, are Department of Commerce. So here's what I think it means, and it became effective October 1st. It was the Augustine Commission whose recommendation it was to change the name of our department, which was Department of Business and Economic Development, to Department of Commerce. They felt that it represented a broader statement about economic development in the state of Maryland, that it covered a broader landscape of things that are related to touching businesses and moving the economy forward. So number one, it was meant to do that, Department of Commerce. But here's what I really think is the key to it. We were always known as the Economic Development Department. Mm-hmm. And what I've said to folks is I said, economic development before, we always thought of as a department. Well, we've retired that. It's not anymore a department in the state of Maryland. Now it's part of our culture, because I say often that those states who do the best in growing the economy are the ones that always have the most pro-business economic development policies. So I think for us here in Maryland, economic development now is part of our culture. Commerce happens to be the umbrella of what we do it under. So it's a great change for Maryland. It's a real plus.
Well, I know Governor Hogan, when he ran for governor, made one of his priorities to make the state of Maryland business friendly.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you're doing to promote Maryland and to promote that image and the reality that Maryland's a good place to do business?
Probably number one, saying yes to every group they asked me to speak.
Okay.
Because I thought to myself early on, Jan, I said, you know what? We had a reputation of being so business unfriendly that I don't think we can change that overnight. So maybe one of the things I will do is I'm going to spend more time out in the field, being with people like you, being with folks like Alan Kittleman in Howard County, being with the leadership on the shore, being with the folks in Kent County and Cecil County, being with all these people and bringing a message about it's a new day for business in the state of Maryland. But from a friendly standpoint, I think one of the things I'll just give you a couple examples. There will be a sub-cabinet made up of 7 departments: planning, transportation, housing, dollar, Governor's Office of Minority Affairs, transportation, and commerce. The cabinet secretaries, we all come together. We'll come together monthly. I chair the sub-cabinet, and the whole idea is to talk about how we're doing in helping businesses in the state of Maryland go forward. So I think we're going to be much more proactive. I think it's a message from the top down, starting with the governor, about how we're going to conduct business in Maryland, that everyone's a customer. And you know, when you're in the customer service business, If you walk into a restaurant, if you walk into a Starbucks, if you walk into someday what will be a grand hotel on the canal here in Frederick, the first thing you're going to see is a smiling face saying, welcome. And that's the way I feel that we should be with the customers here in Maryland. Welcome. How can we help you? So we're going to do our best to spread it across the entire state, and Maryland will never be the same again when it comes to how we do business in Maryland.
Well, I like to tell everybody in county government that it starts with the first phone call. So the first contact with somebody, you need to say, what can we do to help you? You know, we want to help you. We want you to be here. So what can we do to make that happen? And, you know, we're happy. We just had our big commercial bus tour that we have every year to take
I heard it was great.
Folks around the county to show them what we have to offer. And I was happy to say not only do we have places like AstraZeneca expanding and growing jobs, but we have Ford Motor Training Center moving from Virginia to Maryland.
Whoa!
So we're really happy about that.
I hadn't heard that one. I love it.
And so, you know, so we really do feel that we have some positive trends here and a lot of energy happening here. And so, you know, and I know we have a lot of support from you. We're trying to move some projects forward here. We just had Crest, our higher education center, approved. We're trying to move forward the downtown hotel conference center. And we really appreciate the partnership we have with the state and with your agency to help us with these projects.
Let me just give you a real quick thought. And you and I talked about this before, but when I look at the assets of Frederick, it's just amazing how much they mirror what I talk about as the great assets in the state. You know, looking at life sciences, looking at technology, look at innovative companies like Region Education. You have a very smart population that lives here in Frederick County. I mean, these are all characteristics that I love to talk about around the state. And right here in Frederick County, I mean, you really are a Maryland in miniature. I mean, I thought about that this morning on my drive up to Frederick, that, darn, I could just substitute Maryland or Frederick whenever I say Maryland. So, and what that really means, the real benefit of it is the fact is diversity. You're a diversified economy, and if you want to assure sustainability in your economic success, I think the more diversified you are, the better. And you're very diversified as well with some industries that have high-paying jobs.
We are.
And that's a big deal.
And of course, you know, a lot of people recognize that Fort Detrick is our biggest employer here, but 80% of our jobs in Frederick County are in the private sector. They're not in the public sector.
That's a good thing.
So that diversification is very good. And we do have a strong manufacturing base here, as well as agriculture is still big business in Frederick County. But
how about tourism? Tourism is wonderful in Frederick County.
Tourism is great. So I do think our opportunities are in life science and in IT. And so we're working on those to make sure that we can take advantage of our opportunities and be a good place to do business.
Terrific, terrific.
So is there anything else you would like to share with our viewers about your department?
We're having fun. I mean, I tell our folks all the time, we're going to work hard, play hard, have fun. There's no reason why we can't do all the above. We have 200 folks that we call team members. I don't use the word employees. They're not employees. They may be legally employees, but they're team members first. And we really work closely together. I mean, our whole thing is, what can we do that at the end of the day, we've changed, we haven't changed lives, but we've helped businesses who it's hard enough as it is to be successful in business. I mean, if you're doing everything right, it might still be hard to be successful. And if you think about the role of government, I mean, shouldn't it really be to be a partner to help with the heavy lifting of trying to make that business work? So I think it's a motivator for us, and that is helping businesses succeed.
Well, we have a lot of interesting businesses here. We'd love you to come out and visit some of them. I think that, you know, having a good job is fundamental to a high quality of life that we have here in Maryland. And, you know, we have businesses here like our life science industry that have a good mission of improving the health and quality of life for their patients and for everybody here in Maryland and around the globe. So we are have a great opportunity to brag about the things that we do here in Frederick County.
Now, the only other thing I want to add, Jan, before we wrap up is keep working to get those lights and all those trees in the city of Frederick. So if Randy McClements is watching, Randy, you got to get those lights and all those trees.
All right. We're working on that. It's that time of year where we're putting the lights all over Frederick, and people do love them. It just creates a great sense of community.
It's one of the great towns in America anytime, but certainly during the holiday season.
All right. Well, thank you for being in Frederick today. Thank you for joining me on this show. And to our viewers, I hope you learned a little bit about what the Department of Commerce does in Maryland. And it's great working with Secretary Mike Gill because he's always optimistic and is always upbeat and positive about the good things that are happening in the state of Maryland. Thank you for joining us.